course I have passion for my 49ers.
I am not going to back down on this one. Sometimes I go extra hard just to prove my point.
No, you don't get to have it both ways.
It's head-to-head. It's mono-a-mono. It's 49ers face-off.
It's true.
Jason is laughing because
Laugh track.
I told him people think it's actually rigged that I'm against him.
Which it feels like it is sometimes, but
Oh, come on,
Only
man.
when you lack knowledge.
but never then.
They'll make me take off this shirt and go one-on-one with you.
One-on-one with the great one.
With the great one.
All right, guys, this is going to be a fun one today. Let's get into the coin toss.
Coin toss. Oh, goodness gracious. All right, Ant.
I always lose these. It's rigged.
You never lose.
You never lose the coin toss. I'm working over here with Crumbs over here. Let's go heads today.
Heads. Okay, let's
go
see
heads.
what it ends up being. It is heads. And
See, that's tails, folks.
This guy over here, what a freaking screw. Listen, I'm going to receive on this first time.
Ooh, he's going to go first on the first topic.
Give me that
That's
football.
what
So,
she
Jason,
said.
you don't get the opportunity. And the first question is about Deebo Samuel.
Okay.
Is it better using Deebo in a hybrid role coming up in the future to split carries with Elijah Mitchell?
No. No, this is not a recipe for sustained success. See, what makes Deebo so dynamic right now and so special as a running threat is the fact that it's sparingly. It's not being utilized 15, 20 times a game. It's not being utilized 10 to 12 times a game. It's being used 5 to 7 times, 5 to 8 times a game. And teams are going to adjust.
Did
They're
you have
gonna
9 carries today?
adapt. I'm already at 9, but he didn't get that 10 number. And the reason why he got 9 today, Jason, you and I
8.
both know this, is because Elijah Mitchell wasn't available. You don't have Raheem Mostert, and they don't want Trey Sermon anywhere near a football. Get this man out of here. They don't want Trey Sermon touching the ball right now. I
He
don't
wasn't
think
bad in his garbage time role. And he made one great catch. One great catch that got us an extra.
Take your
3
mouth
points.
and zip it, my guy, because not only are you completely inaccurate, Trey Sermon was completely ineffective today. But that's
One
not
big catch
that's
that got us
beside the point,
extra
because
points.
Deebo Samuel's specialty is being able to do it all. And if you start putting him
if I
into
didn't
a
lied.
hybrid role, Jason, then you're asking him to be put into a box. See, right now, he's not a hybrid all, he's a do-it-all. He does whatever you need him to do.
By definition,
And that's
hybrid
what his
is not a
role
box.
needs to stay. He doesn't need to be put into a box. Let this man be
Hybrid's
free.
not a
Let him
box.
continue to do the
Hybrid
things
is
he's doing
not a
as a receiver, in the short running game, fly sweeps, as a running back at times when they need it to be. Continue to diversify him and let him expand his role for this team. Utilize him as a blocker at times. Whatever it may be, Deebo Samuel does it all. The minute you try and put a label on what this is and what he is the minute that you're going to take away from some of his greatness.
So I don't necessarily disagree with you, but I'm at least intrigued by the concept, the nuance of it, shall we say? Because what I had heard on with a couple of the hosts on KMBR that brought this idea up, and they had cited that they had some conversations with people in the 49ers upstairs that had thought about this too. So there was at least something there.
Did they name the sources?
They don't name sources because why would you name sources that goes against?
The 49ers don't have leaks, so I'm going to call poppycock on all of it.
You know, Shanahan's on there all the time, and so's John. So whatever. As I was saying though, the idea was with Jimmy's $25 million off the books next year, and obviously having to do a Bosa extension, but with Trey's contract being very small as a rookie quarterback, the idea is to get a proven receiver out there to go along with Ayuk, and then have Elijah and Deebo splitting 25, 26 carries, where Elijah gets 12 to 13 or 14, somewhere in that range. Deebo gets 10, and then you get him the ball on screens and on those great little crossing routes 4 or 5 times a game. In some aspects, it's what our beloved officials' main all-time man crush, Jalen Hurd, was supposed to be. Until the fact he could never stay on the field. So I'm kind of sensing that maybe Kyle is at least tempted by the idea of moving Deebo into that particular role. I'm not sure I necessarily think that it'd be ideal, but the way he runs the ball out of the backfield is really good. And his vision is great, and he's so strong and hard to tackle that once he gets by a team's front seven, he can turn a 8-yard carry into a 28-yard carry really easy. And
agreed with you.
The touchdown run that he had both last week and especially this week was beautiful. Good, solid, stiff arm. Put that dude on the ground. I mean, it's like I said, I wouldn't want San Francisco's offensive staff to totally slam the idea shut. And a lot of it too would depend on the receiver that they do bring in.
Okay.
Obviously the all-time goal would be Devontae, but if it was something like that
we can firmly shake hands on that. Yes, we can.
That with you operate with those two in the backfield, those two out wide, and Kittle doing his thing. That's 5 guys who could score a touchdown on any one touch.
But Deebo can score from anywhere, and this is the problem I have with this idea. This idea for me, you just said 10 to 12 touches and then 5 over the middle as a receiver. It's a lot easier for defenses to know where Deebo Samuel is going to be and what he's going to be doing if he's lined up. If he's lined up in the backfield, it's a lot easier to know what he's doing and where he's going to be. It's a lot harder to know what Deebo Samuel's role is and what he's doing when he's lined up out wide in a slot coming in motion. No way to know. It becomes too unpredictable and it opens up everything else for everyone else.
In the backfield, he comes out. He's more apt to be on a linebacker too, which is even better.
Again, I think what you have right now with Deebo Samuel is what his role actually is and what it should be, which is do it all, right? You need him to run the ball, you can run him. You got a guy who's tired and needs a break, you can throw Deebo in as a running back. You can put him in the backfield, motion him out, and create mismatches. Because what you're talking about is getting him 10 to 12 touches a game as a running back, lining him up more times than not as a running back than as a wideout. No. Well, no for me. Hard pass.
When Elijah's in the game, then he goes out wide. Or sometimes get really creative and have them both in the backfield at the same time together with those 2 great receivers and Kittle. My goodness,
you're putting him in a box as a running back who can also play wide receiver when the reality is that he's a wideout who can do whatever you need him to do. The minute you start putting a label on him as a running back is when you're going to start limiting his impact on the field.
The knock on him was until he's not a great route runner, which
seems to be just fine.
Which I don't necessarily understand because he's second in the league in yards, so there's something that seems a little odd to me. But if he's not a great route runner, you
watch the film, right? He's a great route runner.
I mean, I wouldn't call him great. I'd say he's above that. He's good at it, but I mean, if we're talking great, like he's not a great route runner. Like that part's accurate. But to say that he's below average is also wrong. He's good to above average, but he's not overly precise in his cuts though. He's not. But he doesn't necessarily need to be because the ball skills and the power are so much though too.
I'm just gonna flat out disagree. I'm not even gonna go into it with you on this. The people who are on this channel who watch our stuff on Patreon and watch us break down the All-22 film, that's just not accurate, man. He is precise with his routes. I don't see him drift any routes. I don't see him never being in a spot that he shouldn't be. His physicality also allows him so that even when his speed doesn't necessarily create the separation, he's wonderful at putting his body in the right spot, putting himself between ball and defender in order to make catches. Everything that Deebo Samuel does out in space is pretty phenomenal. It's fantastic. And where he operates best is routes over the middle of the field, which are some of the hardest routes to run because it's one of the easier areas to run, especially if there's help over the middle of the field. And when Deebo Samuel is running routes from the outside, there tends to be help coming from the middle of the field, smashing down on him in space, and yet he's still making catches and making plays. And it's because he attacks the ball with aggressiveness. He doesn't drift or fade on his routes. Everything is pretty crisp, clean, and precise. And Jimmy somehow seems to always know where he is. So I'm just going to disagree with you on this flat out. Is what it is. I still love you. You're still a cute gentleman down there with your little fancy cardigan pullover.
All right, moving on.
It's definitely not a cardigan. I'm no Taylor Swift here, for
All
God's
right,
sake.
my apologies.
Got
My bad.
got a little zipper here.
My bad.
Okay.
Whatever it is. Some sort of man sweater. Okay.
All right, there we go.
But we're moving on to the next topic, and we brought up Deebo Samuel and talked about his impact in the backfield
Cashmere, for God's
and
sake.
what could
It's
possibly
very soft.
happen. I don't care what brand or whatever it is. I don't
Cashmere is
care.
a type of fabric.
Do
bro.
I look like a cashmere kind of guy?
Not at all.
He's literally wearing an official's outfit. What is wrong with you?
Yeah, this is what I wear 24/7. I have to take it all in.
I have to
Be the scene.
I was gonna say on the regular daily episodes, I have to convince him to get out of the official's
I
uniform.
know.
Complete silence while I get into character, please. Complete silence. Complete silence while I get into character, please. Complete silence.
How do you manage that?
All right.
How
Well,
do you actually manage to take off your pride and joy, your favorite shirt?
and I would like to point out, you did throw some Jalen Hurts slander my way.
I did. I
would
did.
like to point out that since I wore the 14 jersey on this podcast, the Niners are undefeated. You're welcome. You're welcome. It brought good luck.
It did.
Jalen Hurd has brought this
so
team
maybe-
good fortune.
Yeah. Maybe he's like, it's like the whole break a leg thing. It actually happened, and then it worked for us.
There you go.
Hey,
There's that.
cutting him also helped too. Now we just need to find a number 3 receiver.
Accurate.
Well,
at
we
some
need
point.
Muhammad Sanu to come back, and then in the
That too.
future we need another one, right?
Well,
Yeah.
this gets
Okay. So Jason, we talked about Deebo Samuel. Now let's talk
Fritz.
about let's not talk about Visca. I'll get happy.
Whoa.
Not that kind of happy. Like smile, Jason.
Yeah.
Like let's put a smile on the
Come on,
face of yours.
come on now, Jason.
But now we got to talk about
That'd be a really good
Elijah
trade.
Mitchell part of this, because next year Elijah Mitchell assumes to be running back 1. Jason, do you believe Elijah Mitchell will be running back 1 next year, or will they re-sign Raheem Mostert and he'll be running back 1 next
I think and I know we talked about Raheem a couple weeks ago. I still think the intention is to bring him back, unless like the Jets or somebody like that comes in with a crazy over the top offer,
which they probably should.
which I mean, but it's the Jets. Like
They did draft Michael Carter,
yeah,
and they
but
seem to like him.
Name's not Raheem Mostert though.
But-
It's true.
the staff there knows Raheem really well though.
I wonder why that is.
And they know how good Raheem really is. I would like us to bring him back on, something around 2 to maybe 3.5 mil base with incentives. But as far as who's quote the number 1 running back for the team, one thing we know about the Shanahan offense over the years is that Kyle doesn't necessarily have a true number 1 unless it's like Alfred Morris guy way back in the day, but since he's been with San Francisco, they've always had 2 and 3 backs that he will rotate kind of on a who's hot basis. The other thing that we know with Raheem and unfortunately apparently with Elijah is he get hurt a little, not easily, but Elijah's missed games this year twice now with 2 separate injuries. Mostert's has some knee issues. So should there be a clear number 1? No. And if San Francisco does not adopt the, hey, let's use Deebo in the backfield route, those carries that he would have gotten in that same style of 12 to 14, 15 carries each should go to Mostert and to Elijah because they're both flat out game breakers.
Question for you, Jason.
Go on.
How many running backs in the league could take the workload that Elijah Mitchell took and come out of the game unscathed?
I mean, in today's NFL, you don't have many backs having 25 carries a game anymore. You just don't. So
The point of my question was to get you to try and say Derrick Henry, who's out for the season because of the workload that he has to carry.
Derrick Henry also carries the ball 30.
I'm aware of that, and 30
and has
getting
since high
close to
school.
30, getting close to 30 carries a game is what Elijah Mitchell got against the Rams, and the worst
And he
the
broke
worst
his
thing came
finger.
out of it was a broken finger. He's going to be playing next
Right.
week. He could have played this week.
He also had an ankle injury.
And a
Earlier,
rib and a lot of other things.
Yeah.
He's been playing through a lot of this all season because
So
players
he's
get banged up
getting
in the
banged
NFL with
and getting-
football.
and hurt.
People
Was
people
it-
get hurt.
Was it an ankle injury?
I don't think it
remember
was.
the rib injury. I know he does have some injuries, but I don't remember the ankle. Jermichael Hasty had an ankle.
Michael Hasty had an ankle.
He still has an ankle too.
I think. Oh, maybe it was an ankle in training camp and preseason. It wasn't.
It was a
training camp.
hammy in training camp.
Or it was some leg
Okay.
injury though.
Just curious.
Right?
I couldn't remember. For
Actually,
sure.
it wasn't even a hammy. I think it was a hip.
Well,
It was his hip abductor.
was it?
Oh, it was the hip.
It was a hip
Good
abductor in
call.
preseason.
Okay.
So look, my point is this: I understand what you're trying to get at. The problem is that Elijah Mitchell hasn't had an injury that's kept him out a significant amount of time
Yet.
and he
He's a
could
rookie.
have played this game. They didn't play him for a specific reason. There's no reason to put him out there against the Jacksonville Jaguars when you believe you can get it done with the pieces you have. You can
And you have a
take the game and put it in Deebo's hands in the backfield one time in order to accomplish it, to keep him fresh for next week, which is the important week. This upcoming game against the Minnesota Vikings
Maybe the biggest
is the
game
game
of the whole
that's
year.
is the biggest game of the season so far for the 49ers. You need to have your number one running back healthy and good to go. This is where I'm at with this. Even if you bring back Raheem Mostert, Elijah Mitchell has shown you that he's RB1. He's shown you that he can withstand a good chunk of the punishment. He's withstand most of it so far this season, and he's been relatively healthy. The nice part is about Raheem Mostert is when did he thrive his best in San Francisco? 2020 started out red hot, right? But then he gets hurt and goes down early, and we never see, that Raheem Mostert ever again. Every time he comes back, there's those little nicks and dinks. His best year was 2019, where for the first part of the season,
12 carries
he
a game.
wasn't the guy, and it wasn't until down the stretch when he's into the season full and his body's been able to adjust and acclimate to what's going on that he thrived. And he didn't get hurt down the stretch when he was asked to carry a big chunk of the load for the 49ers. I think this is the best case scenario for the 49ers. You have a guy in Elijah Mitchell who's young, who's fresh, that you can ride and rely on and mix him in with Raheem, bring Raheem back on a small contract and let Raheem get his feet underneath him as the season goes along and then get him to the point where at the end of the season,
So
when
then
you need to
how
turn.
many carries a game do you give him then?
Mostert?
Yeah.
You can give him, at the start of the year, you can give him 10 12
Which
carries
is
a
about
game.
exactly what I said.
Okay, but my point is that Elijah Mitchell is RB1 and Elijah Mitchell is an injury prone. I'm not sitting over here saying that Elijah Mitchell can't stay healthy and can't handle the workload. I'm saying Elijah Mitchell is your RB1 and that you mix Raheem Mostert in. He's your change of pace back going forward. You're sitting here saying you use them both the same. They're the same guy. You ride the hot hand. No. Elijah Mitchell is RB1. He's earned it. He's shown it. He can handle the beating. He can handle the punishment. And Raheem Mostert is your guy that you can change of pace in. And when he's having those explosive games and those explosive moments, you can ride him a little bit, but you always have Elijah Mitchell as your go-to guy who's always going to be there.
So
You have a puzzled look on your face, and I don't understand why.
in like a long 3-minute spiel, you basically said exactly the same thing I said, just without mentioning
Without the Elijah Mitchell
Elijah's
slander?
injuries.
Without the Elijah Mitchell
Well,
slander.
it's hard to.
Injuries or boo-boos? I mean, missing a game in the NFL. I mean,
It's hard,
sorry, that's not that's not an injury, guy. That's just getting banged up.
It's hard for me to be accused of slandering a guy who 3 or 4 weeks ago I already said was a top 10 back in the entire league. So obviously I'm not.
Yeah, you change really quickly. A guy misses a game and all of a sudden he's injury
I
prone.
didn't say that.
And you flip-flop. I can't wait to hear your conversation about how high the 49ers can go in the playoffs.
I do have a question for Jason. You're talking about them, splitting reps, which I love. I want to know what you feel about, them. Would Kyle just be willing to just go with, Raheem one game and go with, the Elijah Mitchell the next game? There wouldn't be an exact starter. It would just be one guy. Is that kind of what you're leaning towards? Yeah.
And then as we get to this point next year or into December, then they can sort of maybe elevate one to more of a 20 to 24 carries a game because they'll both be hopefully fairly fresh.
Who gets the rest of the carries, guys? I mean, because we're talking about 24 carries and we're talking about a 49ers team that's showing that the blueprint, right, is for over 30 carries a game, and you just said 24. Who gets those 6 to 8 to 10 carries, the extra ones? Is it Trey Sermon? Is it Jeff Wilson Jr.? Is it somebody else they draft or bring in?
Jeff Wilson. It's not Trey Sermon. I think Trey Sermon will be lucky.
Because I don't if Mostert is back next year, either Hasty and or Trey will not be here. And since they invested a 3rd-round pick in Trey this year, they're going to be a little more patient with him. So I think Hasty is off the rosters.
Okay.
So.
And what do you feel about? Do you think they'll re-sign Jeff Wilson Jr. then?
I don't think he gets re-signed.
Okay.
Why?
The only chance is because he is coming off a major knee injury that maybe the market for him is not as.
Yeah, because what was his deal this year? Like a little over $2 million?
Yeah.
A little bit.
Something like that.
Yeah.
I think the 49ers can get away with getting him one more year around that same price tag.
But Yeah.
Now he might be one that the Jets would be interested in as well.
Yep. The Jets, the Seahawks, maybe, because Chris Carson has proven to be majorly injury prone as he's out for the year again with a neck injury too.
Bengals as well. Somebody that runs a similar system.
Yeah.
Are you willing to go that route?
Absolutely.
It's an interesting thing.
As a counter puncher to Joe Mixon. Yeah.
Yeah. Having that power guy that can finish. I think Kyle would love to have him there, but you can't keep every running back. That's for sure.
You cannot.
And they keep on finding them. So.
And now that the 49ers are firmly back in the playoff picture and everyone is believing that this is a real possibility, the question is
fire Kyle, fire John. I want to hear more of those kind.
There's obvious that there's no.
Now Kyle's really smart again. Oh my God.
Okay, rant aside. There's obviously no question the 49ers are definitely in the playoffs, hunt and have an opportunity to make it. But now the question is, how high will they go? Are they just a 7 seed? Can they reach the 6? Can they get to the 5th? Alex, Jason went first on the last topic, so it's your topic to take. How are you feeling about this?
I feel that the door is open in the NFC. I feel the door is wide open. I don't think it's shut on anyone. I think what you have right now is you have the top teams that are still competing, but for the most part, they're faltering. I think the team that has the best chance to run away with the NFC is the Arizona Cardinals, who are going into a bye week. They're going to come out of it, you would ideally believe, healthy with DeAndre Hopkins and Kyler Murray coming out of it into the fold and being able to get back to full strength offensively with their weapons, which should mean them being able to run through everyone that they need to run through here the second half of the season, which is a very favorable schedule for the Cardinals. But you have the Rams, who kind of faltered with their identity and who they are. Their defense has definitely been exposed a little bit 2 of the last 3 weeks. So they have some questions and some concerns there, and they're sitting at the 5 seed. So with them at the 5 seed, you have the Saints completely falling apart in every way, shape, or form, completely a shell of themselves, and without Jameis Winston, they really don't have an offensive identity that can be consistent. No idea if Michael Thomas will ever come back and play for the Saints. So
he's already been announced that he's out the year.
There you go. So see, I even missed
2 weeks ago, bro.
I even missed that announcement. Well, I mean, when Michael Thomas hasn't been on the field at all, why would I pay attention?
As soon as Jameis went down, I didn't care.
Yeah, there's no point to pay attention to anything that they're doing. But outside of that, what you have is a lot of teams in the NFC right now that haven't separated themselves, and you have teams that were super high up there, that were doing a lot of good things, that have since gotten injuries at the wrong time and have lost their identity and lost their sense of self, while the 49ers have sort of found their mold, found their niche. So the 5 seed is still completely in play. They do need some help for that. Ideally, the 6 seed is where you could get to realistically without a whole lot of help. The 49ers do what they're supposed to do, seize control of their own destiny, win the games that they're supposed to win, and you can easily find yourself in that 6th spot. But they get a little bit of help. They beat the Rams one more time when they have to play them, and that 5th seed becomes very attainable for the San Francisco 49ers, and you put yourself in a really great spot if you're San Francisco.
I think what we first should realize is the 5 seed is in play. If you check the Rams' schedule, it is loaded. It is very hard. So with that being in mind, the 5 seed would be good because then we play the 4 seed, which would probably be the Cowboys. Cowboys don't scare me a ton. They've played last 3 weeks. They've gotten mauled 2 of those times. So the 6th seed would probably be Tampa. I don't want to play Tom Brady in a playoff game until I absolutely have to. I don't care what anyone says.
Tampa's the 6th seed?
No. I'm saying you would play
if we get to
if you get the 6th seed.
Yeah.
Got it.
If we get the 6th seed, and then if we get the 7th seed, we get the Packers in Lambeau, which we can definitely win that game. Like of those top 3 teams, I would almost want to see the Packers the most, just because I feel like the Cowboys have the ability to be explosive. So, but they've also shown that a dominant pass rush can cause them havoc. That being said, this game against the Vikings is a must win because of how tiebreakers go and that kind of stuff. If San Francisco loses this game, the 5 seed's out, the 6 seed's probably out, and at that point we're in a dogfight for the 7 seed with us and honestly potentially the Eagles. I agree with you guys. Saints are vastly becoming the Aints because Trevor Siemian is just not good.
Hot duty garbage.
I don't know why they don't just play Taysom Hill. What
does that say about Taysom Hill if Sean Payton's not willing to go there?
Especially when you give him that huge contract. And
it wasn't a huge contract for him to be a quarterback, though. I mean, that's becoming very clear.
Well, it was a lot of it was almost like no guarantee money. So it was one of those things that's kind of big, but it actually wasn't huge. But man, and then them not having Kamara also hurts. I mean, I think after the last couple weeks, and especially yesterday, two of the most valuable players in the whole sport are Kamara and
Deebo Samuel.
Well, of course, Deebo, but Jesus, how much on
what team?
I don't know what team you're referring
to. The Ravens quarterback.
Oh, Lamar
Jackson. Yes.
Okay. I'm sorry, you were talking about the Saints, so I was after Kamara. I'm like, who else they got?
Because their offense looked just awful yesterday against the Bears, and I mean the Bears aren't a great defense, but man, you talk about a one-man band. At this point, I'd almost give my vote for league MVP to Lamar off that game alone.
What, Mr. Editor, what was that? The Miami Dolphins are on line 2? Oh, okay. Apparently the Dolphins disagree with you.
He's talking about the Thursday Night Football game where the Miami Dolphins basically ran the same
Ran the same blitz 35 times?
Stop Lamar Jackson.
That was...
It's the same blitz 35 times in a row.
We'll see what happens if other teams can...
What a creative defensive game plan.
Well, I know we're not supposed to talk about Baltimore, but they got held to 16 points in this game as well.
True.
That was without Lamar, though.
May have been without Lamar, but...
yeah. Anyway,
just
back to the 5 seed and the 6 seed and the 7 seed. I would say, though, that if I'm one of those upper teams and San Francisco can beat the Vikings and continue this kind of roll that they're on, they're going to have some people up high be a little nervous, though, too, because they're starting to look... on wood, starting to look like the team that we all thought they had the potential to be in August and September. And, all of a sudden, they're getting healthy. D'Amico's calling much better games on defense now, apparently, because...
He's been calling good defense.
Exactly, but they just haven't been executing, which I think is a crazy concept. And Kyle's a genius again, because,
Are our DBs still trash, Jason?
I mean, I'm not willing to go on that limb yet.
You already went on that limb, my guy.
Talk to me after next week. Okay. After we get Thielen and Jefferson, talk to me then.
Okay.
Because then we can have a little more good conversation about the DBs. Obviously,
apparently Kupp and OBJ were very good.
Having Jimmy back there makes a huge difference, though. That just makes...
Agreed with you on that.
And it's funny because I remember when we first had him, people were down on him and said he sucked, and they couldn't understand why Kyle kept on praising him, and we kept on re-signing him, and Kyle kept on praising him. And then you watch what happens when he's not there versus when he is there, and it's almost like Kyle knows what he's talking about.
Maybe.
I don't know. It's like he's a smart guy who's been around football his entire life or something.
Probably how Jimmy got the nickname Eraser.
Awesome.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Awesome.
One of those things that just kind of fits because he cleans up the mistakes of everybody else.
He closes up those windows in a hurry.
Yeah.
Yeah. Blow my mind, man.
Good old Cali.
As far as the Rams, man, something there is not right, and I'm very curious to see if they can get it figured out over this.
I can tell you what it is.
Their D line's really soft.
No, their linebackers are really bad, and then they have this guy. They have this guy named OBJ. He's kind of a problem.
Yeah, I don't think you can't blame that on. I can't blame anything on OBJ. He's been there.
No, you're right. Him stopping his route on the sideline, you can't blame that on him at all.
Well, I mean, he doesn't really know the system.
He's been there for half a cup of coffee.
He was literally like one of those first day.
Yeah, he wasn't there when the Titans mauled them. So
True.
Can't use that as an excuse. No,
True.
As we talked about last show, their linebackers are trash.
That's true.
And if they play teams that are tough up front,
Problems.
it gives them fits, especially if they can't get an early lead. Like, they are built for a pass rush. And if you can punch them first and make them play your style and get some pressure on Stafford, things happen. So if after Arizona we were having the conversation of can San Francisco eke out 5 seed, we probably would have lost every viewer that we ever have had, because that would have seemed utter insanity. But
until we were right.
After these last 2 weeks, though, the 5 seed isn't out of the question, and I think that's amazing. Like, it absolutely is.
I think Jason might be right, and I'm so glad that he took 35 years to make that point, and now I'm an old man. Thank you so much, Mr. JHill.
What? What are you talking about?
It took about 35 years to get around to your point there. My goodness gracious.
I just wanted as much airtime as possible.
Jason was just giving it a lot of context, right, Jason?
Yeah.
I love it. Mwah.
Nuance,
definitely nuance.
That's obviously the word of the day. That's like the 3rd time I've heard it from you today.
Get ready, Ant. We still got some more airtime.
I got some more nuance for you too.
Yeah, I don't think either of you are wrong. I think there is an opportunity for them to, be 7, 6, or 5, and I think 5 is crazy that it's even in the thought process right now. But having another game against the Rams later on this season, all they have to do is lose one more along the way, and the 49ers can catch them. I think that's an interesting situation, especially with head-to-head being so pivotal. I mean,
finally,
yeah. So that was good points by both of you. 7, 6, and 5, all in the wheelhouse of where the 49ers could land. But I think Jason made some good points too about matchups. We went over that a lot about which teams they match up with. And I thought that was interesting as well. Let's get to the drive.
Time for the drive.
Yeah, let's do it.
So we're here. We're at the drive, and
rev up that engine, boys.
Alex, you won the toss, so you get to decide who goes first on the drive.
I'm gonna defer. I'm gonna let JHill go first.
So Jason, you're gonna get your minute first.
Do this. Let's bring it.
And
I thought that was frustration.
And the table died because of Jason.
Big yikes. As did the mic.
Yeah.
No, the mic's fine. The mic's actually fine. I meant more audio.
We're okay. Everyone just their ear hurts now, but it's okay.
Wake up.
So Jason, the question is, what NFL rule would you like to see changed or needs to be changed? And you got 1 minute to make your point. And let's see if you can convince the people that this rule needs to be changed. There's
one rule that I absolutely have hated for a long time, and I'm just over it. It didn't happen in any games yet this week. Who knows? It could happen the Monday night game, but the idea that I have the ball in my hand, I'm at the 1 yard line, I get hit, the ball comes out and rolls in the end zone and then rolls out of bounds, and my team loses possession and their team gets the ball all the way up to the 20. It's the most excessive, insane penalty in the entire sport. It needs to go away. At any other point on the field, if a fumble goes out of bounds, the team on offense who have the ball retains possession. It's insane. Oh, it's to the end zone, so now you guys lose the ball, and they go all the way up to 20. It's nuts. It's stupid. It's illogical. It's irrational. It lacks sheer nuance. It's a bad rule. I told you I was going to get it in. It's awful. It needs to be changed this spring. Word.
Okay, before you start, Alex, let me say that of all the arguments I thought you were going to go with, that was not it, number one.
Nope. Really?
Number two, way to fit nuance in. I appreciate that. But no, I did not see that coming. We'll save comments for after, but
it's true.
Well played, sir.
I'm not going to lie right now. I don't even know if I have an argument to be making anymore that could be that nuanced, to be honest. But look, I'll do my very, very best and my very darndest. The NFL has done a lot to try and make things easier for offenses. You know, a lot of scoring, big scoring, all those things are important. But what have we seen? Teams is counter to a lot of the new age passing schemes, wanting to throw the ball a lot of big formations, is to go out and get yourself an incredibly effective pass rush. Edge rushers that are quick, bringing guys on the interior that can beat double teams. All those things are important. You've seen the Bosas, both Bosa brothers of the world complaining about this. I've seen a lot of the Clarks of the world with the Chiefs complaining about this as well. Judon has made some comments this year as well about this. Pass rushing and holding is a call that is not consistent across the board. These little hooks, these little arm over, arm bar across the neck nonsense has to go. These guys have steps. They have opened the door. The shoulders are turned. The door is open for them to get to the quarterback. And you have guys putting an arm in front and preventing them from breaking through. NFL Competition Committee, take a look at this. Fix this. You can't punish teams for having talented pass rushes.
I like both of those arguments. They're both well thought out and well played. And I'm curious what everyone thinks about, which one of these rules they think needs to be changed the best.
I think JHill might have just won.
What was
first
your change?
Psych. Actually, that's a good one, Mr. Official.
Yeah.
You're the actual official down there.
Well, there, Mike Pereira.
How do you keep touching him like that? When I do
actually,
that,
guys, why would I change a rule? I'm a numbskull. I just do what I'm told.
Oh,
Wow.
As an NFL official, they tell me what to do and I do it.
Oh God.
Point of emphasis.
Oh Jesus.
I honestly didn't think this out, so I don't have anything off the top of my head that I think
there's got to be at least one that just irks you though.
That just irks me? Yeah, you know what irks me is the way that the football is changing. The roughing the passer where you land full body weight, those kind of things frustrate me. I like the old school style of play. I hate the defenseless receiver claim. Nobody's defenseless when you're on the football field. You have to be ready. The oldest quote is head on a swivel. So
you and Tom Brady both right there.
A lot of mine are kind of in touch with the older style of football. I enjoy the big hits. I think a lot of that's been taken out of the game.
You got jacked up.
Yeah, I know. Sorry. A lot of it has been to protect the player.
Was that taunting? Does he need to throw a flag?
No, definitely not taunting. So I think those are the ones that I would go with. But as far as like actual rules, I would have to sit and think about it a little bit. I'm sure there are some I'm just not thinking off the top of my head.
So.
But you going with the one where the ball goes through. I mean, to me, it's not even a penalty, right? It's just a rule. That's kind of interesting. I thought that that one was kind of always whatever. What would you like it to go back to the 1 yard line? You don't want them to be penalized?
Yeah.
Like, what would be the repercussions? Because you did put the fumble on the ground. Right, you did actually have a fumble. Like
I said, if I'm at the 50 and I fumble it out of bounds, we get the ball still. But
couldn't you counteract that with it is about positioning, because when you get sacked into the end zone or you get a holding call in the end zone, it's a safety.
Right.
So sometimes position on the field has more emphasis. Just like if you score,
if you decide you want to reach out for that pylon and someone knocks the ball out, there is a chance that there's a negative consequence.
Be penalized for trying to make a play.
I don't disagree.
What about a penalty in the end zone where they get to go to the 1 yard line? You know what I'm saying? It's a higher emphasis when you get closer to the end zone.
But that's not losing the ball though.
No.
Like the fact that you lose possession of the ball.
I think it is. I think it's an interesting point that you're bringing up.
It is.
It's a very interesting point. I just want to know how could you possibly implement it or change this so that it doesn't have that much of a negative impact?
It just wouldn't have an impact, and what you would have is players that wouldn't worry about ball control
and ball security.
They could just go for broke.
If the other team recovers the fumble, like our guy finally did today, Mr. Fred Playmaking.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Warner. Jennings.
No. Well, that too. That was good too. But
that too.
Fred never makes any plays. Well,
I think it's an interesting thing, Jason. I really do. I haven't.
I think
because I haven't thought about it, I'm actually not opposed to it at all.
Neither am I. And
I'm just wondering the implementation, why they ever decided that.
I think it came from the Raiders and the Fumblerooski play. So they were trying to stop people from intentionally fumbling it in the end zone, which
do you bring it back to the spot of the fumble, or do you bring it back to the spot of the play it started? Because think about would it change also if somebody put the ball on the ground on purpose and kicked it out of the end zone to get it to the 1 yard line. Do you get what I'm saying?
Oh
yeah.
You could kind of throw it forward.
That's good nuance though.
Yeah.
If there's a direct attempt to move the ball, then that should be penalized. But if I'm just running you hit it out from behind me and it goes out of bounds, it should be out at the spot of contact.
Okay. I don't mind that. I didn't expect you to come with it, but I like it now. So
JHill bringing a good topic to the forefront. It wasn't even planned, my guy. Great job. Great job.
I think Jason sits in dark rooms and thinks about rules.
You might be.
Actually, Jason knows a lot of the rules. He's pretty good on that kind of stuff.
He is good on the rules. Look, though, we hope you enjoyed this Cutback Crew. Make sure you vote down below. Who took the drive? Who took home the contest today? Was it the official? Was it JHill? Was it myself? We definitely want to hear from you about this. And you know what? While you're at it, while you're down there, making your votes and making your selections.
Go Dan Mullen.
Yikes. What is one rule that you want changed? And maybe, who knows, maybe we'll dive into this a little bit more.
Good job, buddy.
But yeah, we want to hear from you. Make sure you're leaving those comments down below.
Sorry, you mentioned Luke Bolton on the broadcast.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I am curious who everyone thought won. I thought both brought very good arguments today. I thought sometimes there was a little bit of truth on both sides. So it was a good conversation overall. I like the playoff conversation. That might have been my favorite. So yeah, it's good. I'm glad to see the Niners back in that talk and that be back in the arena of playoffs in the NFL.
Absolutely. I'm excited about it. I know JHill's excited about it. I know Mr. Official is excited about it. And Cutback Crew, we hope
your game is going to be so massive.
It's you know what, Jason? Do you want to tell everyone happy holidays or happy Thanksgiving or anything? Because this is you won't see them again until after.
I won't see you guys until you guys are all stuffed with turkey. Have a great Thanksgiving, everyone. Don't drink and drive. Stay home.
Yeah, you might spill.
Have a good time. Eat. I'm stoked because my brother and his kids will be here for the first time we get to spend Thanksgiving together in like 5 or 6 years now.
Nice.
So
awesome, man.
It's going to be great.
That does sound great. Happy Thanksgiving to everyone from 49ers Face Off. Well, we have me and Alex will have plenty of opportunities to tell you Happy Thanksgiving.
I was going to say you guys
possibly. There's a good
chance.
chance
To make sure that Jason got the chance to tell everyone.
Absolutely. Cutback Crew. From Face Off, happy Thanksgiving, and make sure that you enjoy the rest of the content. We still got a game recap show. We'll see you for that, and until that time, stay safe.
Remember, the right way
is always the nuanced way.